Hi, my name is John.
And my name is Alice, and you're watching Math Videos for Parents. We help you so that you can help your kids with math. And today we're talking about the associative property of multiplication. So, what that states is that the way numbers are grouped in a multiplication problem doesn't change the result. So, I'm going to tackle this problem here 4 times 2 times 3. So, one way I could group these numbers is I could say, okay, 4 times 2, I'm going to group them, which means because they're in parentheses, I'm going to handle them first. So 4 times 2 is 8 times 3, and that's going to give me 24. Now, another way I could have grouped them, because multiplication is associative, maybe for whatever reason, I wanted to group the 2 and the 3 together first. Because they're in parentheses, I'd multiply the 2 times 3 first and get 6, and 4 times 6 is 24. Now, the instructions say to find the result two ways. Just to mention, of course, we could have just handled it left to right because it's all multiplication and kind of done it in our head as 4 times 2 gives us 8 and 8 times 3 gives us 24. But showing it, the grouping shows how multiplication is associative. John, what are your thoughts?
I think, one of the great things about associative property is if a student knows their 3 times tables or 2 times tables a little bit better, they might want to do 2 times 3 first to get the 6, and then go ahead and do 6 times 4. So it offers students multiple entry points to find the product at the end. And what's great about it is the results are equivalent, whether I do 4 times 2 times 3 or 2 times 3 first and then times 4. I will get out equivalent results. And in the New Jersey Student Learning Standards and assessments that follow, it's important students understand equivalence and that different ways of doing the problem can result in the same answer.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of when you calculate volume and you multiply, length times width times height. No matter what you do, the volume is the same. So that's kind of a real world example of the associative property.
Yeah, exactly that. If we had a three-dimensional rectangular prism, we can multiply the length times the width first and then times the height, or we can do width times height and multiply by length. Any order would be fine.
Wonderful. Well, let's tackle some more problems.
Associative property can also help us find different multiplication equations. So in the example on the left, we have a couple of arrays, and we would like to write out 2 different multiplication equations for the array shown and then find the product. So recall from our previous videos that an array is just an arrangement of objects in rows and columns. So if you look at this first array here, we find that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows and 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So we would call this a 5 by 4 array. Now, notice I have 3 of these 5 by 4 arrays. So if I'm looking to find the total number of dots, this is the product I need to find. So based on associative property, I really have 2 ways to do this. I can do 5 times 4 times 3, where I do 5 times 4 first. We know that that is equal to 20. And then 20 times 3 is equal to 60. So by doing it this way, what I'm doing is I'm finding the number of dots in a single array, and I'm multiplying it by 3 because there's 3 arrays total to get 60. Another equivalent way to do this is to also do 5 times 4 times 3, but just change the order that I prioritize multiplying. So instead of doing it at the array level, maybe I'm better with smaller numbers. Maybe doing 4 times 3 is a little bit easier for me to do mentally. And in this case, 4 times 3 means I have 4 columns in one array, but I have 3 arrays. So I'm finding the total number of columns in my array. I know that 4 times 3 is equal to 12. And then for my last step, 5 times 12, we can do that mentally or write it out using standard algorithm. And 5 times 12 is equal to 60. So either way will result in 60. There are 60 dots shown, but the way that we arrive at the 60, we can choose to either do 5 times 4 times 3 or 5 times 4 times 3. So we can prioritize which pair we want to multiply first.
John, I can see the advantage to that because multiplying by groups of 20 is usually easier mentally, so it is easier for most people to end up with the 20 times 3 at the end rather than the 5 times 12.
Correct.
So it's just nice to know you have options.
Exactly.
Okay, wonderful. So now for a word problem. So Marco bought 5 sheets of stamps. So I always like to draw problems. I always like to draw illustrations for word problems. So on each sheet of stamps, there are 3 rows of stamps with 2 stamps in each row. So I'm just going to draw my sheet. So I've got 3 rows of stamps and 2 stamps in each row, and I have 5 sheets of stamps. Marco's got a lot of mail to mail. So one way this could be approached is to say, okay, each sheet has 3 times 2 stamps on it. So group those and then say, but there's 5 sheets. And the 5 might come first in the equation because it comes first in the word problem. So that's fine. 5 times 6, and that's going to give us 30. Or someone might read through it and say, oh, okay, there's going to be 5 sheets of stamps. And for whatever reason, they might prefer to group the 5 with the 3 first. And that's going to give them 15. And then that's going to give them 30. So either way, he ends up with 30 stamps. And so the associative property just makes it a little easier to know that you can approach it in the way that's best for you.
And this ties back into our earlier conversation on skip counting. Maybe some students are better at doing 5, 10, 15, 20. They may know that more readily. So to do something like 5 times 3, that could be easier for them to start with and then just double the result as opposed to doing 3 times 2. On the flip side of it, maybe a student is better at skip counting 3s or 2s. So it just offers some flexibility. And, as the teacher, I think it's important to stress to students that these ways to do the problem are equivalent. Writing it out this way as a product of 3 different factors is equivalent to writing it out this way as a product of 3 factors.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, where Math Videos for Parents. We also have a Facebook page. And please let us know if you have any math problems you'd like us to work on. We can't wait to see you again.
Thank you.